Australia, 1986. Nigel Mansell found himself in third position of the Australian Grand Prix with only 18 laps of the Adelaide circuit separating him from his first ever Formula 1 World Championship.
Prepared to move over, and look at that! And colossally, that's Mansell! That is Nigel Mansell, and the car absolutely shattered. He's fighting for control, and you can see...
Puncture caused Mansell to retire from the race, and due to championship rival Alain Prost winning, Prost secured the title, denying Mansell. In 1987, Williams had the strongest car again, which allowed drivers Mansell and Piquet to dominate the championship. Mansell took an early lead after a win at round 2 in San Marino, but after 3 straight second places, entering round 7 at Britain, Piquet had a 3-point lead. But Mansell levelled the playing field after winning in Britain. After that, however, Piquet took 5 more straight podiums, whilst Mansell fell outside the points 3 times in 5 races, leaving him 24 points adrift of Piquet. In the following rounds, Mansell tallied off back-to-back victories, leaving the points deficit at only 15 points entering the penultimate round in Japan. But after a serious crash in qualifying, Mansell missed the final 2 races of the season, which meant for the second season in a row, Mansell finished runner-up. Prior to the 1988 season, Williams lost their turbo-powered Honda engines to rivals McLaren, so they switched to the naturally aspirated Judd engines. Along with that, the team's innovative active suspension was extremely unreliable and ended up being removed mid-season, and then to make a terrible season worse, Mansell contracted chicken pox prior to the Hungarian Grand Prix, but he chose to still race in the event. But because of the hot conditions, Mansell's illness got worse and it forced him to miss the Belgian and Italian Grand Prix. Midway through 1988, Mansell announced he would move from Williams to Ferrari for 1989. This was a big deal, particularly because he was the final driver to be personally selected by Enzo Ferrari before his death. So, entering the 1989 season, expectations were high, but entering the season opener in Brazil, Mansell exceeded his wildest dreams, where he took a shock win. But the rest of the season was not so good, as Ferrari's revolutionary semi-automatic gearbox had severe reliability issues. Next, in 1990, Ferrari signed reigning world champion Prost from McLaren, who took over the reins as the team's #1 driver. This upset Mansell, which came to a head at the British Grand Prix. Mansell found his car handled differently. He confronted the mechanics and discovered the team had switched Mansell and Prost's cars. Following this, after the race, Mansell announced his retirement from Formula 1 at the end of the 1990 season. After Mansell's plans were announced, Frank Williams pursued him for a return for 1991, with guarantees of being the team's #1 driver. After a short break and a back and forth with the team, Mansell signed for Williams. So, entering the season, expectations were high, with Mansell back in his iconic Red 5, as he took 5 race wins and finished second in the championship, but the car's lack of reliability cost him the championship. After the difficulties of 1991, Williams focused on reliability when it came to develop their 1992 Challenger. This development proved fruitful after positive testing results. Mansell was seen as one of the favourites for the title entering 1992. The season started at the newly built Kyalami circuit, where Mansell took pole by a staggering 0.7 of a second over rival Ayrton Senna. The Grand Prix was very uneventful, where Mansell took a lights-to-flag victory by over 24 seconds over teammate Riccardo Patrese. Entering race 2 at Mexico, it was business as usual for Mansell, who took pole again over his teammate Riccardo Patrese. Then, once again in the race, Mansell took the race win by 12.9 seconds. Qualifying for Brazil was much more eventful for Mansell, as during the second qualifying session, Senna slowed in front of him, causing Mansell to spin. But even with these issues, Mansell once again took pole by over 1 second. The Grand Prix would see Mansell dominate by lapping all but his teammate Patrese and cruising to the Grand Prix victory. Mansell secured another pole for Spain. Then, in a wet Spanish Grand Prix, Mansell battled the chaotic conditions to claim victory to continue his perfect record in 1992. Round 5 would see Mansell take pole again, this time breaking Ayrton Senna's streak of 7 straight poles at Imola. As chaos unfolded behind him, Mansell had every lap of the race to claim victory. As the Formula 1 circus entered the windy streets of Monaco, this Grand Prix would prove to be one of the most iconic in Formula 1 history. Qualifying was uneventful for Mansell as he dominated both Thursday and Saturday qualifying sessions and took pole by 0.8 over second place Riccardo Patrese and third Ayrton Senna. At the start of the Grand Prix, Senna overtook Patrese to slot into second place after the first lap. The race proved to be uneventful for the top 2 until lap 60, when after a backmarker span in front of him, Ayrton Senna lost 10 seconds. The most pivotal moment of the race would come on lap 70, when Nigel Mansell reported a loose wheel nut, forcing him into the pits. Mansell emerged from the pits with a fresh set of tyres, 5.2 seconds back of Senna. He closed the gap quickly, breaking the Monaco lap record in the process. The Brit got to the back of the McLaren with 3 laps of the race remaining. These 3 laps would prove to be one of Ayrton Senna's finest hours, as despite piloting the car several seconds slower than the Williams and experiencing rapidly deteriorating tyres, he managed to fend off the Williams with a gap of only 2/10 separating first and second place. Senna took pole in Canada, with Mansell only qualifying third, missing out on pole by 0.173 seconds. At the start of the race, Mansell overtook Patrese for second place. Then, after closely following Senna for 13 laps, Mansell tried to overtake the Brazilian on lap 14, but spun out of the race. Mansell took pole as Williams locked out the front row of the grid. At the start of the race, Mansell got overtaken by Patrese, then the race was stopped on lap 11 because of heavy rain. When the race was restarted, it was decided that the race would run on aggregate times from both parts of the race. When the race was restarted, Patrese managed to fend off Mansell initially. Eventually, Patrese let Mansell past, which also meant that Mansell got ahead of him on aggregate and won the race. When asked if it was team orders, Patrese refused to comment. Mansell annihilated the competition in qualifying, taking his 8th pole of the year by 1.9 seconds. Patrese beat Mansell off the start but was soon re-overtaken, and from there Mansell cruised away from the competition, taking the win by 39 seconds. Mansell took another pole in an uneventful session. Then, in the race, Mansell took an early lead before pitting and falling behind Senna. Then, on lap 19, Mansell cut the corner at the Os curve and passed Senna. He went unpenalised. He went on to take the Grand Prix victory. Patrese took pole, making this and Senna's pole in Canada the only time in 1992 Mansell did not claim pole. Mansell struggled at the start of the race, getting passed by Senna and Berger, but Mansell quickly overtook Berger on lap 8, and then went on to get stuck behind Ayrton Senna. The resilient defence went on until lap 31, where Mansell went wide, ended up rejoining behind Berger, but then later overtook him for third. Another pivotal moment came on lap 39, where Riccardo Patrese spun off, falling to 7th, which put him outside the points, meaning Mansell, if things stayed the way they were, would be world champion. But on lap 61, Mansell had to pit due to tyre issues and rejoined 6th, and quickly overtook Mika Häkkinen. But in a stroke of luck for the Brit, Patrase's engine blew. Mansell passed Brundle, then when Schumacher's front wing broke, that gave Mansell third. Then Mansell was able to pass Berger for second. At the end of the race, Mansell had done enough to be crowned Formula 1 world champion at age 39, becoming the first British world champion since James Hunt in 1976. In an uneventful qualifying, the newly crowned champion cruised to pole by 2.1 seconds. After losing first position at the start, Mansell quickly overtook Senna for the lead. Then, when rain began to fall, Mansell pitted. Soon after coming out the pits, Mansell collided with Jean Alesi, giving the Frenchman a pencher. From there, Mansell stayed out of trouble, until engine issues caused him to fall behind Michael Schumacher, giving the German his first ever Formula 1 victory. Mansell comfortably took pole for the Italian Grand Prix, making it the 11th time in 1992 he'd claimed pole position. Mansell took an early lead until on lap 20, Mansell let Patrese pass for the lead, and then on lap 41, Mansell slowed for the Ascari chicane and had to retire with gearbox failure. It was business as usual during qualifying for Portugal, where the new world champion took pole by 0.6 of a second. Mansell picked up the win, lapping all but second place Gerhard Berger in a race mostly remembered for his teammate Riccardo Parese's horrific airborne crash. Mansell once again claimed pole for the Japanese Grand Prix over teammate Riccardo Patrese. After an early lead, Mansell was overtaken by Patrese on lap 36 for the race lead, and then on lap 45 Mansell's engine failed, causing him to retire. Mansell took his 14th pole of the season in qualifying. Then in the early stages of the race, Senna stayed close to Mansell until on lap 19 the two collided, where Senna tried to overtake Mansell, causing them both to crash out, ending Mansell's 1992 season on a sour note. The legacy of Nigel Mansell's championship season is unforgettable, as the driver who had raced against some of the greatest to ever do it finally got a long-awaited world title.